Welcome to the PCOS Fertility Health Podcast. I am your host, Dr. Angela Potter. I am an integrative PCOS fertility doctor helping women like yourself optimize their fertility and get the best chance at getting pregnant with PCOS. And I am so glad that you're here today. We are talking about when you go into your doctor, you showed up, you've got irregular cycles, and your doctor says, well, we ran a couple of labs, everything looks fine. You need to go back on birth control in order to regulate your cycles. And you're thinking, well, that just doesn't sit right with me. I want to know some other options and understand how my body can actually do this naturally. And so I'm going to share with you a little bit about the issues of that conversation, how that could be keeping you stuck, and then help you understand what those options are in order to help your body in this space of having irregular periods. And you want to get to a place where you have regular periods and you're getting positive ovulation tests. Before we jump into it, have you join me over on Instagram. Instagram is where the party is at. Come join me at Dr. Angela Potter. We talk about PCOS misconceptions and tips and share recipes, and you get updates on new podcast episodes. So if you have not joined me over there yet, you've got to do it. And I want to acknowledge you for showing up here today. I think it is so cool that you have decided to show up for yourself, that you are flooding your mind with information about PCOS and fertility and how to navigate this journey that you're on. And you are holding on to hope that you will find the answers. And I think that is so cool. I hope you can acknowledge yourself for that. And it speaks very highly of who you are as a person. Let's set the stage. You have showed up to your doctor's office. You are saying, my periods are still all over the place. You have a history of being on birth control for a few years. You got off of that birth control and it took 6 months for your periods to come back. And after that, they were back every 60 days, every 90 days, or every, 2 to 3 months, just all over the place. And you're not getting any positive ovulation tests. And you're like, this sucks. Like, I can't get pregnant if my periods are all over the place and I'm not ovulating. What do I do? And your doctor says, well, we ran your egg reserve. That looks fine. We did your husband's sperm analysis. That looks fine. So the only way to regulate your cycles is to go on birth control. And you hear that, but you also are thinking, I want something different. I want to understand that root cause of why my body is having irregular cycles, why I'm not ovulating, and I want something different because you were on birth control in the past and that just did not feel good to you, particularly when you came off the pill. It's not like your periods were regulated. So why would you try something that didn't even work in the first place? And so you want to know your options and you want to know how to balance out your body to get to a place where you're having regular periods. So number one, birth control is the most recommended therapy for irregular periods with PCOS. For some women, we will celebrate them. They get on the pill and it helps them to regulate their periods. They don't have testosterone symptoms like acne, facial hair, weight gain after coming off the pill, and it actually soothes everything out. So yay, that's great. But if you're anything like the women who talk to me or show up in my practice, you actually experience the opposite of that. And it's common. Okay, somebody gets on the pill or hormonal birth control, gets off of it, and all of a sudden, periods are all over the place. They're getting acne, particularly around that chin area. Unwanted hair pops up all over their body and, rapidly gaining weight, particularly around the belly. And they're like, what is going on? And now all of a sudden are in this place of irregular cycles and really wanting to get pregnant. And those two things just don't add up. And so here's the issue number one with that kind of a conversation that you have with your doctor that's keeping you stuck. When your doctor tells you that your labs are fine And yet here you are, you have irregular periods, you're not ovulating, you haven't had a positive pregnancy test in the past 6 years of you trying. Here's the big issue with that is that there is no way that your labs could be fine. There is no way that you could be diagnosed with PCOS and have irregular periods and no ovulation tests and have everything be fine on your lab tests. Those things cannot happen at the same time. And if you were listening to last week's podcast, we really dove into that concept, right? So if you haven't listened to that one yet, after you've listened to today's episode, jump on over and listen to the previous episode. But I want to talk about it specifically in this situation of birth control and irregular periods. So if you're in that place where you've been told, well, your egg reserve is fine, sperm analysis is fine, jump back on birth control in order to help things out, you haven't gotten enough information yet about what is going on in your body, or your doctor isn't able to put together those pieces to really help you understand why you're having irregular periods. So that's number one. I just, want to remind you that there's no way that your labs can be normal, that every single thing with your hormones and your nutrients, all of that is going to come back normal when your body is in a place of irregular periods, no positive ovulation tests, because that is the body's resting place to have those hormonal rhythms throughout the month that create ovulation, that create a bleed every 28-ish days. That's its resting place. And so when your body is not in that place, sure, it's normal every so often, if you have lots of stress or something pops up and you have a longer period or a shorter period, like that can be just a little blip. But for every cycle to be irregular, which, I'm guessing is where you're at, that your body is not cycling rhythmically. That was kind of a weird sentence. Your hormones are not in a place where they can be going in that monthly cycle in a way that allows for those regular bleeds and ovulation patterns to happen. It's just not possible. And so what's happening is that one, your doctor hasn't ordered the comprehensive set of labs yet, doesn't have that clear picture of what's going on with your body, or two, isn't interpreting them from a fertility perspective. Here's the thing with your period. When you're in this place of you've got all these irregular periods, you don't know when it's coming, and you're certainly not getting any ovulation tests. Your period, we refer to it loosely as your fifth vital sign. So vital signs are things like heart rate, blood pressure, that your doctor is checking with you, or, the nurse, maybe you're used to walking into your doctor's appointment and you get those vitals checked. From us as the doctor, we use those as just really basic numbers to understand things that are going on deeper in the body. And so your heart rate, your pulse. If somebody comes in and their pulse rate is really elevated, but they just ran into the office from the parking lot because they were running late, it's like, okay, yeah, I understand your pulse would be elevated. We'll just check it 30 minutes from now. If somebody had been sitting in the waiting room for the past 20 minutes because they showed up early, they've been reading a book, and they come in, they get their vitals checked, and their pulse is way elevated, that's an important signal to the doctor that something is happening that needs to be investigated. Okay, pulse, one of the vital signs, is just a very quick number that we can evaluate if the body needs to be investigated further. Okay, so the period, it is a marker of the body that we can just, get some quick information about to understand what is going on deeper inside. So again, if you have irregular cycles, if you are not ovulating, that is an important sign as a doctor for myself that I immediately, it's like, okay, I need to investigate this. This is really important because again, the body's resting state, the natural rhythm that your body wants to be in, is having a period every month, is ovulating. And so if your body is not doing that, then I, as the doctor, need to investigate what is going on here. What is keeping this person in this state of having irregular cycles? So you're sitting there in your doctor's appointment, not with me, your other doctor, and you're being told to just get back on birth control in order to regulate your cycles. And you want to try something different. Well, that's the first step, is to be working with a doctor who understands that the key importance of the menstrual cycle. And so when women come to see me who have irregular cycles, no positive ovulation tests, what I'm doing is first getting an understanding of what their hormones are doing and a variety of their hormones, not just estrogen and progesterone, FSH and LH. I want to look at blood sugar and cortisol levels and thyroid levels and get this really comprehensive look at what's going on with their hormones. I want to understand egg quality. Is there anything in their history that's keeping egg quality low? And honestly, having been on birth control, there are studies that find that birth control depletes the body of important antioxidants, CoQ10 being one of them, that the eggs need in order to develop into happy, mature, healthy eggs. If you've been on birth control, that's not a reason to say, oh my gosh, that's keeping me from getting pregnant. I'll never be able to get pregnant. No, we just need that information to then be able to replete the body, to replenish the body with those nutrients that have been depleted. And so I get that understanding of what's going on. And then I use my cycle balancing protocol in order to support the natural hormone rhythm that the body naturally wants to be in, and support through nutrition and improving egg quality, all of these holistic pieces of the menstrual cycle in order to get my patients to be at a place where they're having regular cycles, positive ovulation tests, and hopefully pregnant like they want to be. Here's one key takeaway for today about the menstrual cycle and fertility, is that your fertility health is not just about your reproductive organs. It is not just about your lady parts. Fertility is whole body health. You can't have optimal fertility if you aren't also looking at these different systems in the body that are impacting the reproductive system, that's impacting your ovaries and your uterus. And taking birth control is a Band-Aid solution to that bigger issue of what is keeping you from having irregular cycles. So here's what's happening if you do take birth control, is that, you've got PCOS, you've got these irregular cycles, and you decide to try birth control. And you get on it, and 28 days later, you have a very nice bleed, just for a couple of days, no PMS, and you're like, great, oh my gosh, this looks wonderful. The next month, 28 days after that, you're having this nice bleed, and it's like, yes, I did it. I've regulated my hormones. I've come back to this place where my body is having regular periods. And then if you're anything like the patients that I see in my practice, you come off of that and your periods are not regulated at all. And this is what I call a Band-Aid solution. Now, here's the thing. Birth control can be used in the fertility world for specific purposes. And like I mentioned, some women do respond to the birth control. It actually does help regulate their hormones. But again, if you're anything like the women that I see in my practice, it's doing the opposite. And so when then you're using birth control as the only therapy to regulate your cycles, I refer to that as a Band-Aid solution. So it's just covering up the deeper issue that's keeping you from having a regular cycle. And what it's doing is that birth control, you're taking the pill, and that's shutting down your body's own natural output of these hormones. It's saying, hey, brain, ovaries, you can go take a vacation because we've got this taken care of, no problem. And so it's shutting down your body's internal hormonal rhythm. You could go get, tested for your hormones, and your hormones are going to be low when you're on hormonal birth control because it just shuts down your body's internal hormones. So from the outside, when you're having that bleed every 28 days and no PMS, it looks really beautiful. Looks like it's tied up in a real nice bow, box with a bow. But inside the body, it's not actually doing what you want it to in order to regulate cycles. And you already know that in your body because you were on birth control a few years ago. And when you came off, it took 6 months for your period to come back. And ever since then, your periods have been all over the place. What you need to do is to figure out what is keeping your body from having those regular cycles, those regular hormonal shifts throughout the month, and then get a plan that addresses that. And I do that through my cycle balancing protocol when people are working with me for fertility, walking through my PCOS fertility protocol. One of the first steps is getting on this cycle balancing protocol. Let's talk about someone who was seeing me just so you can understand what this looks like. So this person came to see me. She was having 65-day cycles and no ovulation tests at all, had been diagnosed with PCOS, and she was really frustrated because she wants to get pregnant. And so she started working with me, and I got her on the cycle balancing protocol. We started talking about egg quality. She was on fertility foundations. Within the first month of getting these things on board for her fertility plan, 30-day cycle. So exciting for her. And then she was like, okay, maybe I'll try some ovulation strips this month. And she did, positive ovulation. Next cycle, 30 days. And she went like that for a few months. Then things got busy for her, and we followed up a couple months later to see how she was doing. And she was like, work got so busy, I really fell off of my fertility plan. And that next month, after I stopped doing what you had prescribed for me, cycles were back up to 65 days. And that was such a clear picture for her to understand that she had given her body those foundations to support the hormones to go back into regular rhythm and to support her body to ovulate. And when she wasn't on those things, then she just went right back up to long cycles with no ovulation. If anybody has told you that it's not possible to get regular cycles with PCOS, keep asking, keep searching out, because in my practice, I see that happen. I see women start to have positive ovulation tests and certainly get pregnant naturally, or they move forward and get some, letrozole to just give them that little boost over to get pregnant. Let's sum this up. So you've been talking to your doctor, you're at their office, and they're saying, well, the only way to regulate your irregular cycles is to go on birth control. And you're thinking, I was on that before, it didn't feel right to me. What can I be doing differently? What you need is a doctor to be investigating different hormonal systems that are impacting your reproductive hormones, and to be able to understand how to bring those back into regular rhythm, so then you are able to have regular cycles and positive ovulation tests. And you need to be working with a doctor who understands there could be nutrient deficiencies that are impacting egg quality. You need to understand the different hormone systems that are more than just your reproductive hormones, to look at the body in that holistic way and to be able to put together those pieces for your PCOS. Because you want to be working with a doctor who understands that the menstrual cycle is an important vital sign for deeper things going on in your body that need to be addressed, instead of just slapping a pill on it and hoping for the best. You are here because you want to figure out the root cause of your fertility struggles. You want to know what is keeping your body from having regular cycles, what's keeping your body from getting pregnant, and you want to be addressing those things in your body. You don't want to be just slapping a pill on it to cover up other issues. You want to be bringing your body back into a regular rhythm so you know why you haven't been able to get pregnant and that you can move forward knowing you have the best chance at getting pregnant with PCOS. And that's how to do it. Like that person that I was mentioning a few minutes ago about who went from 65-day cycles down to 30-day cycles, the first step that she took and the first step that you can take is the same. And that is to sign up for a free PCOS Fertility Breakthrough Session. That is a free call with me where you and I are going to talk one-on-one about your specific needs. I am going to be talking with you and helping you to figure out these missing links that are keeping you from getting pregnant. And most importantly, I am going to share what you can do about that to turn around your fertility. So you can sign up for one of those free PCOS fertility breakthrough sessions at drangelapotter.com/PCOS. Now, here's the one thing about fertility that I want to be sure that you know. The one thing that we cannot predict is the time that it takes in order for your body to come back into regular rhythm. I have seen this happen, like I mentioned with that person, in a month. I have seen people get pregnant naturally within 3 months. Some women, it takes a year to 2 years. So the one thing that you can take home is that take that first step today, because today is the best day to optimize your fertility health, to start making these changes so that your body can come back into that regular rhythm that it wants to be in, and so that you can have optimal fertility health. As we wrap up here today, I want to remind you that this podcast is for informational purposes only. And the only way to get specific medical information about your fertility is to talk with me through one of those free PCOS fertility breakthrough sessions. And if nobody has told you this today, I want to be the one to tell you that I believe in you and I believe in your ability to have the best chance at getting pregnant with PCOS.